Sorry about the break in there, but my camera will only record 30 minutes at a time, and I kept talking and finished the whole video and didn't realize that it finished. But what I was talking about is, I know we're all in this, like, oh, it can't get any worse, I can't take any more, but you can, because I really think, like I said, September, October, and December are going to be the end of the worst of the worst. Now, I'm not saying there's not going to be bad things happening next year or in the years to come, because there's always going to be challenges, okay? There will always be challenges. But we're going to be slowly, through the course of next year, we're going to start to coalesce. Now, I'm not saying it will all happen in next year. It's actually going to take I think up through a little while past the next presidential election. But the MAGA people, they're going to fall away slowly. There's going to be ones that are going to hold on to this till the day they die. I remember back in 22 and it was, that kind of thing. But they're not going to be a major influence anymore. And I think if the Democrats do what they say they're going to do, if they can overcome their corporate overlords, and yes, they have them too, and they actually start to bring relief to the majority of the population, we're going to come together. Now, there's always going to be a segmented population, and not just the MAGA people. The really ultra rich, they are not going to be happy because they're manipulating these things too. Like I said, it's a Byzantine plot. It's plots within plots within plots within plots. There's all these different people pulling for what they want, and be damned what anybody else wants. But over time, particularly with the kids coming up, they don't think that way. And these really self-interested people, they're going to start to become marginalized. And we're going to have to do things legally to rein in some of these really incredibly powerful billionaires, corporations. The media has got to be, we've got to clean up the media. We've got to clean up the corporate law in this country. We've got to, there's going to come a time when there won't be a stock market, okay? There's going to come a time when corporations are there for their employees. That will become their primary focus or responsibility. That's a ways off, okay? Probably 20 to 30 years before we're really going to make significant headway in that. And we're gonna as we come together and become more collective, we're going to be able to better deal with climate change. I have some beliefs about climate change that really don't go along with the current paradigm, and at the risk of ridicule, I'll just tell you, not everything that's happening on Earth is because of human beings. Yes, human beings are affecting the climate in a very negative way. Do not misunderstand me. But this little blue marble we are on, it floats in space. And when you sit down here on the surface of the Earth, you don't think about out there and what's out there. But the Earth is traveling around the solar system, and the solar system is traveling around the Milky Way, and we are constantly being exposed to pockets of gases and dust and things like that. And it does have an effect on the Earth. So while I don't want anybody to jump on me, because I'm not saying that we shouldn't get rid of our fossil fuel addiction. We should, definitely. because things would be a lot better if we didn't. But some of it is coming from outside sources. And if you really are a scientific person and you read papers, you would know that it's not entirely all human made. Though I'm going to say the vast majority of it is. But we're part of a bigger system, and things do get into our ionosphere, and make their way down energy. I mean, our sun is going into a very powerful stage right now. We're being bombarded with a lot more energy than we have in the last decade. That all has an effect. It affects the core of the planet. It is affecting the number of earthquakes we have and the volcanism we have. So, again, please do not jump on me. I'm not saying that climate change isn't real. It is very much real, but it's more complex than the average person is being led to believe. And this goes back to what I tell you all the time. You can't just rely on the media. You have to be an inquisitive person and get out there and read the scientific journals. It may not make any sense to you at first, but if you read them enough, you're going to start catching on. Maybe it's not your thing. I get that. Not everybody is like I am. I'm really inquisitive. I love science and I love to read those things. But just understand that, and this is true of every aspect of 3D life. Things are more complex than they often appear. And if you want to know what's going on, then it's your responsibility to go do some searching. Not research, okay? Research is something scientists do. When you go read articles, that's not research, okay? That's learning. You have to go out and learn. Anyway, not lecturing anybody, I'm just saying it's complex. But we're gonna start to come together, and things are going to slowly get better. And I know I keep repeating myself because I want you to focus on the big picture. I don't want you to focus on what's going to happen tomorrow or the next day. And I know a lot of psychics are really good about fleshing out the details. I am I hate this term though. I'm kind of more of a big picture sort of guy. I like to look at the overall trends of what we're going to. And my guides, though they do tell me details, they know that I am more interested in what's going to happen 2 years from now, 5 years from now, 100 years from now, 1,000 years from now, 3,000 years from now, whatever. Sorry, that was kind of repetitive. But I feel more comfortable knowing generally things are going to become better than having to know what is going to happen with Donald Trump. I tell you those things because I know you're interested in them, but my primary focus in this channel is to give you hope for the future, to give you tools and resources. I'd really appreciate it if you'd leave me comments. Oh, somebody left me a comment. I can't think of her name right off the top of my head. It's on my phone if I went and got it. Who asked about CERN, if I thought CERN was affecting the Earth. And just to answer her question really quick, even though it's kind of off the subject, but since this is a random video anyway, I do think that CERN is affecting the Earth. How exactly, I'm not entirely sure. When I think about CERN and I think about the moment they turn it on, I get a very strange physical sensation all up here in my head, like a queasy pressure. Yeah, anyway. Do I think it's changing our timeline? Because I think that was what the focus of her question was. Is it changing our paradigm, or is it changing is it moving us into a different dimensional space? I'm not entirely sure. I feel it is affecting us. I don't think it's positive, but I also don't think it's completely, there's this school of thought that every time they turn it on, it totally causes bad things to happen. I'm not entirely sure that's true. But I do feel that it affects the energy field of the Earth, and I kind of feel it scrambles things up a little bit. I can tell you this: the people at CERN, if you suggested this to them, which I know they're aware that people feel this way, would think you are absolutely crazy, because they are very pure sciencey kind of people, and they only believe what they can see in front of their face. They only believe what they can scientifically prove. They don't agree with a lot of our psychic stuff. Yeah. Anyway, but I think over time they may come to realize that there's a somewhat disruptive effect. My guides are saying it's significant that they do not turn it on very often. For one, it takes a lot of energy, and they have to really plan for that, because there's just so much electricity to be had, and if you're going to do a massive experiment that uses billions of watts of power, or hundreds of billions, trillions of watts of power, you got to plan for that. So that's one aspect. But they're saying to me they know. No, they do know. I'm going to reverse here. They do know, or they suspect, that there's a quantum effect happening. However, they do not know the extent of that. They do not know if it's negative or positive. I do think there's some there that worry about it. So they really want to plan their experiments out and do them in the smallest amount of on time as possible. And so that's why they're not turning it on very often. There was plans to build an even bigger collider than CERN. And CERN's huge. I mean, it's what, don't quote me on this, like 6 mile loop or something like that. But I think they've scrapped those plans because they do have some awareness that there might be a quantum cascading effect that's going on when they switch it on. It does generate a huge amount of concentrated energy. And I'm just going to say this from a psychic perspective. I don't know that this is true scientifically. I think when they switch that on, it affects our magnetic field. And our magnetic field is diminishing quite rapidly at this point. Something, again, the media is not really talking about, but I've heard estimates of between 35 and 40% of our magnetic field has collapsed just in the last 10 years. Of course, it's been going on for longer than that, but it's why you can't walk outside without getting sunburned now without, you got to wear some pretty serious sunscreen. Those solar particles are penetrating our atmosphere. So if you turn CERN on, and you're affecting the magnetic field, shifting it or changing its shape or causing it to weaken more, it might be something to consider. I hope that answers her question. So in the end, inconclusive, yes, it does seem to be having an effect. What effect it's having? It's more likely that it's not positive, but I don't think it's a paradigm shifting, reality distorting thing. Okay, that aside. Anyway, just Anything else, guys? Sorry, I'm listening to my guides. They seem to be very quiet right now. I think that was probably everything they wanted to talk about. I myself, though, would like to follow up with this whole idea that we're moving to this really positive place. You know, I get visions that go quite far out. I've had one that's like 3,000 years out, and I can tell you what we will be in 3,000 years, you will not even recognize. I mean, humans will no longer live in big cities. We're gonna live in like these small communities of like 5,000 people, 4,000, 3,000, but really capped. And there's gonna be a lot of communities, but the population is gonna be smaller then. And the government isn't going to be like our government is now. It's going to be more of a resource sharing, facilitating apparatus. In other words, it's going to help, you know, if this community needs food, they're going to go out and get food and bring it to them. Or if this community needs a certain teacher to teach it quantum physics or whatever they teach, they're going to find that surplus teacher and move it over there. So it's going to be more about moving resources around and seeing that everybody has what they need. This will support the human spirit. And I can tell you that we are going to be all about education. So while it sounds kind of like we're going to go backwards, we're not. What we're going to do is we're going to learn to manage ourselves in a more environmentally respectful way. We keep our communities small to keep the demand on the planet lower. We're gonna be more farmers than anything else, but that doesn't mean we aren't gonna have scientists. We're gonna have incredible technology. But the thing is, the technology isn't gonna harm the environment. We're gonna learn that technology is here to support human existence. Human existence is not here to support technology, which is kind of how it is now. A lot of about what's going on now is we are all and I'm just speaking in generalities. At this point, the power structures of the planet see human beings as supporting them. And in the future, it's going to be completely reversed. They are going to be here to support us. And it's all going to be about happiness, personal self-fulfillment while not being a selfish kind of personal fulfillment. Like, it's going to be really family oriented. And that definition of family is going to become very different from what it is now. Yes, there's still going to be mothers and fathers and children, and people get married or don't get married or live together, you know, but it's not going to be judgments on people. People are going to be more free to live the life that fulfills them while they fulfill the happiness of the community. And I'm not talking about communism per se. There won't be any money. There's not going to be any money. Nobody's going to really think that they own anything. It's you're going to have what you need, and if you need something you don't have, really need it, then it's going to be provided for you. Are you going to be allowed to accumulate vast quantities of objects or things? No, but nobody's going to want to, because that would seem selfish. People are going to be, well, this is how I see it. So these communities of 5,000 people, they're going to have like 2, 3, 4 buildings, and they're really cool too. They're like spherical or cylindrical, and they set on these legs so that they don't take up the ground space. And each floor is going to be like a family community made up of smaller families, and they're going to live collectively. However, if my guides showed me this vision, if a small family unit like a mother, father, children, grandma, whatever, want to have dinner alone, then they can have dinner alone. But if they want to eat with everybody else, there's a central kitchen in the middle of each floor, and all the apartments are arranged in the outside edge, and then in the center is this community area, and they all cook together and celebrate together and marry, and I don't think there's really going to be marriage like there is now. I think people are just going to be committed to each other, and it doesn't mean there's going to be less commitment, because I think the commitments are going to get stronger, because they're not going to be based on a legal concept. They're going to be based